Hey guys, welcome to episode 11 of the Knit by Day podcast. If you're new here, thanks for stopping in. My name is Deja. You can find me on Instagram at Knit by Day or on Ravelry at Days Jam. This is our second Tuesday episode, and so far so good. No major hiccups. It has been about 2, maybe 3 weeks of my new work schedule that allows me 3 days off instead of 2, and I'm actually really starting to get into the groove of things and actually enjoy that extra time off. It really allows me to do things that I wouldn't typically get to do, and honestly, it's really given me a lot of extra knitting time, which I don't know how I could possibly complain about that. In kind of the last couple of weeks, one of the things I've been able to do is go through my wardrobe and kind of figure out what I'm wearing, what I'm not. I like to do this every couple of months or so because otherwise I end up wearing the same 3 outfits that I like and I forget about all my other clothes. So I was going through my wardrobe and I realized that there are a lot of knits I have made and have made recently that I really haven't been wearing. And I think what I'm realizing is I was casting on colors and casting on designs that, while were really pretty and aesthetic, weren't really quite matching up with my style or my aesthetic. And so I have this closet full of sweaters and gorgeous things that just aren't getting worn. One of the things being what I talked about last week, the pixelated cardi. Which, while it's a gorgeous design, it's really just not me. So I'm gonna make an attempt to gift some of the things that I know that I'm not wearing. And then from here on, I want to really start thinking more about the designs and the yarns that I'm using, not just whether or not I like what they look like, but also that there's something I'm actually going to wear. So in kind of the spirit of that, I'm boldly going to host a year-long make-along. So that's a make-along, not a knit-along. You can crochet, weave, spin, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. But it's going to be a year-long make-along in which we kind of make things with more intention behind them. And by intention, I mean, like, are you actually going to wear this? Is this something that really is going to bring you joy in the long term, or is it just something you saw on Instagram and it's trendy right now and that's what you want to do? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those types of projects. I mean, some of those, impulse, this is trendy, I want to knit it, have been some of my best projects. But I'd really, really love to stick with kind of the motivation that got me into knitting in the first place, and that's the sustainable fashion piece. It's not really quite sustainable fashion if the things that I'm slow making aren't actually being worn, right? So that's what I'd like to do. I am going to call this year-long make-along the Make with Intention MAU. I think that's how you would say make-along. And I'm gonna kick it off today. So by the time this episode uploads, it will have a Ravelry page, and I will go ahead and make an Instagram post to kick things off. So per usual with my knit-alongs, this make-along, there will be a place on Ravelry where you're welcome to chat about what you're making, share finished objects, comment on another person's finished object or work in progress. And then I'm also going to have the option for you to participate on Instagram using the hashtag Made with Intention. Hopefully that hashtag doesn't have a bunch of people already on it doing other things, but we'll have to see. Let's do this. Let's call it the Made with Intention 2021. For some reason, I feel like that maybe won't be taken already. I should have probably checked before this episode, but it is what it is. That's going to be the hashtag. That's how you'll participate. So either on Ravelry or Instagram, and double dipping is encouraged. Because this is going to be a year-long make-along, I think that instead of having one big prize at the end, which I will have, I'm also going to kind of draw at random. So, a couple of months from now, things are grooving. If you've posted in either the Ravelry or on Instagram, I'll go ahead and put all the comments and names into a random generator, and I'll pull winners at random throughout the year. And that's about it on that one. So without further ado, I have a couple of finished, is that right? A couple of finished objects? I have 3 finished objects, 2 of which you've already seen, but I'd like to chat about them if you'll allow it. So the 2 finished objects that I'm referring to, the 2 that you've already seen, are my most recent designs, and that's why I want to talk about them. So the first are my Galentine's Day socks. I recognize that this colorway makes it a little bit hard to show off the baubles, but here they are. These are my Galentine's Day socks, and the baubles are in the shape of tiny little hearts. I wanted to talk about these because this pattern is now live on Ravelry, and you can find them by simply searching Galentine's Day socks or following the link that I will have in the description box for these. So they're out. They're both done. And I love them. I think when I first put them on, Christian was like, whoa, you're going to get some comments about those because they are a little bit wild. But I really, really enjoy them. So just little bauble hearts going down the leg and the foot. And that's really all I have to say about those. I just wanted to mention that the pattern is now live. The other design, one I'm really excited about, is still not named. Here's the cowl. The yet to be named cowl is what I'm calling it for now. This pattern is currently with testers, and many of them have actually already finished. They're all doing a really, really great job and giving me the notes that I need to make this pattern perfect for when it releases. I have made the decision to release this on Tuesday, March 9th. Let me make sure that's correct. Yes, this will be Tuesday, March 9th, and that will actually be the date of the next podcast episode as well. So I will mention at that time that it has been released. Also about this cowl, you'll recall that I started a bit of a contest both on YouTube here and on Ravelry, where it is the Name That Cowl contest. Comment your best attempt at a name for this and I will choose the winner. I believe last episode I said that I would announce the winner this episode, but I do want to give you guys a little bit more time, and I've decided that I will actually choose the winner on the day that this pattern will be released. So I will choose and announce that winner on Tuesday, March 9th. So the name will be a surprise up until it finally gets released, which I think is kind of fun. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention about that cowl. So the prize for the Name That Cowl contest was originally going to be a skein of yarn from Ken Yarn Designs, and it's the yarn that's actually featured in the Instagram post. However, my terror of a cat actually got to that skein of yarn. Didn't do any real damage to the skein, she just ripped the tag off, and I just don't feel comfortable giving away a damaged skein of yarn. So I think instead the prize is going to be this skein of Mad Tosh yarn. This is in her Barbara Deserved Better colorway. It is her Tosh Merino Light, which is 100% merino wool, fingering weight, and single ply. I actually have a ranunculus knit out of this yarn, and it's amazing. It's one of the few pieces that are getting worn right now. So yeah, I will be giving that skein of yarn away in place of the Ken yarn. And actually, I'm not opposed to giving the winner the skein of the Ken yarn as well. Like I said, I just didn't want to give away a kind of messed up skein of yarn as a prize. It just didn't feel right to me. So winner might potentially get 2 skeins of yarn, which could be cool. The other and final finished object that I have to share with you is actually something that's been finished for a little while. I forgot to show these on the last episode of the podcast, but these were finished in January. Both colors are stash yarn. So this was a skein of Baah Yarn, Baah yarn that I actually don't know the name of. I think it was one of their like club colorways that I got my hands on, so I'm not sure of the name. This contrasting color is Jello by a Homespun house, and while they have revamped many of their colorways in this shop, this original is still available for purchase, and I love it. It's this like gorgeous neon purple pink color. I'm gonna have to grab another skein of it because I really, really love it, especially for a contrasting color. Like I mentioned, those socks were actually knit in January as part of my challenge to myself to knit 1 pair of socks per month. So far so good. So I have those for January, as well as I knit my friend Ben a pair of socks, if you remember those. So 2 socks in January, and then in February I of course knit the Galentine's Day socks. And I have also prematurely cast on the socks for my March. I'll show those to you now. Okay, so these are the very, very humble beginnings of my March socks. I'm going to count them for March, even though it is still February, because I am allowed a head start. It is my challenge, okay? So here, like I said, very humble beginnings. So they're gonna be a pair of shorties with a rolled cuff. You'll see all this gorgeous sparkly yarn. I have already started, and I think this is the end of the slip stitch heel flap. I'm gonna have to go ahead and do the heel turn and then pick up those stitches. This yarn is the Bubbles at Midnight sock set by Rocky Mountain Yarn. I have this skein right here. So this is the white cream color that I'm using. Sparkle, sparkle. It also comes with this gorgeous mustard contrast. And both of those are 20-gram mini skeins, which is quite generous. Typically you would only really need 10 for a contrasting color. And you get 2 here. And then this is the main color, which is just phenomenal. By the way, I don't know the name of this main color on its own. I know that the sock set is called Bubbles at Midnight, but I don't know what the main color is called, just a single skein. But it is available in her shop, and I think she has some in stock right now. So if you wanted to grab some and you didn't want the 2 contrasting colors or couldn't get your hands on the sock set, that is available for you. So like I said, I'm gonna knit a pair of shorties for my March socks, and then I might actually knit another pair just like it with the mustard contrast and give those away to my best friend. We both have Birthdays coming up in April, and so I think it would be cool to like gift myself and her matching socks for our birthdays. April's. All right. So that is one of my works in progress. The next one you will have seen before. This is my Habitation throw. So the last time I spoke about this, I would have been at this purple color. I have since added 3 colors, all various shades of green, to it. I'll show you the rest. Per usual. Currently on the decreases, as I've mentioned to you a billion times in the past, I am knitting this blanket entirely out of the mini skeins I get from being a Patreon with Molly of the Homespun house. Love, love, love that feature of her Patreon. I think it's fantastic. Also really, really love this blanket, and in fact I'm already thinking about casting on another one when I cast this one off. So Fiber for the People, I'm blanking on her real name. Taylor of Fiber for the People has a podcast called the Wool Needles Hands Podcast, and I just watched her episode where she talks about her version of the Habitation throw, and it is just so gorgeous. I'm going to need another one. There's no way I won't cast on another one. For my next one, I'm going to potentially make it a little bit more intentional and have a color palette picked out before I start knitting instead of doing it the random as my minis come. As much as I love this blanket, it is super random and all over the place. Brights and neutrals and all kinds of stuff just going on here, which I'm totally cool with. In fact, it was my intention to do it this way when I was setting out to knit it, but I would also like an intentional one, and maybe I'd make that part of my intentional make along entry. I did get the next 3 colors for this blanket in the mail from Molly. I love these colors. They're so pretty. In fact, I was planning on caking them up today, but I thought I would show you to them all skeined up because they're really pretty in their skeins. I saw in an Instagram video that I've been saying skein wrong. It's actually skein, but I say it's skein. I'm 25. I'm not changing at this point. All right, so that's all on my Habitation throw. All of that gorgeousness. The other work in progress that I have that I will not show you is the little black cardigan. I mentioned on the last episode that I was going to stop showing it until I have something other than endless stockinette to show off. I have put quite a bit of work into that, and so I'm thinking that I might have, and I'm gonna jinx myself here, but I'm thinking that I might have the sleeves of that at least started by the next episode. So we will see. You might see it again shortly. The last work in progress that I have to show off is a brand new project. This is one that I actually had no intention of casting on. And I really had no business casting on because I have plenty of work in progress at the moment. But this is a pink Fizz sweater. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, the queen of the knits. Here's one of my lace panels. Oop. So the construction of this sweater is a bottom up sweater, obviously, because I have the bottom ribbing right here. And it has 2 panels going up the front and the back, all the way meeting at the shoulders. And it's really, really pretty. The original pattern calls for about 10 inches of positive ease. That was going to be a little bit much for me, so I went ahead and knit it's either the small or the extra small, whatever the very first size is, and that'll give me roughly 6 inches of positive ease is my hope. So not quite swimming in it, but definitely a more loose fitting sweater for me. Hopefully that pairs well with my wardrobe because, like I said, I'm a little bit sick of not wearing what I make. Using for that is actually a yarn that you will probably never hear about me knitting from again. It is We Are Knitters in their baby wool, I think. Or is it baby alpaca? Whatever it is made with alpaca content, which makes it super duper buttery soft and wonderful. It is roughly, I believe, a sport weight yarn. At least it's pretty close because I was able to get gauge for the pink Fizz sweater, which is typically made with fingering weight and a mohair held double, creating a sport weight yarn. I say you won't really catch me knitting with the We Are Knitters yarn simply because of really the price point of it. I think it's pretty expensive for non-indie dyed yarn. While I do think that the yarn is lovely, I don't know that you get enough content to make the price worth it. This was a yarn that I had originally bought to make a baby blanket, I believe, and just kind of eventually scrapped it, and it's been sitting in my stash for quite some time. I mean, I'm talking like maybe 5 years. So I am really glad to be getting use out of it. But yeah, that's it. That is all the knitting content for this week. So I think I will head into talking about some of my life stuff. If you are not interested, thank you for watching thus far. I will see you in about 2 weeks for the next episode of the podcast. And those of you who care to stick around, let's talk about my life. So most recently, most important, Christian got into an internship. He was matched with an internship. The internship is going to be in Larned, Kansas, which is like smack dab in the middle of the state. And it sounds like it's going to be a really cool opportunity for him. And it sounds like he's going to have a lot of cool experiences and people to learn from. Of course, that means that in August of this year, Christian will be moving to Kansas and getting things set up there. He will be there for 1 full year. I say he instead of we because we're still not quite sure if I'm going with him. I've mentioned before that I really, really love my job here and I'm really set up here, kind of really in the midst of my career in Wilmington, and so it would be really difficult to kind of pack up my life and move somewhere else for just 1 year. Of course, if he were getting stationed somewhere for 4 years or longer, even 2 years, I would move without hesitation because we couldn't spend that much time apart. But a year is actually probably kind of manageable. Again, not fully decided that I'm not going, but definitely not decided that I am. So for the time being, he's moving to Kansas. We'll see if it becomes a we. The other new thing in my life, and really the only other thing to mention, is the new schedule. I've already kind of talked about the fact that I enjoy the 3 days off. 4 days on can be a little bit tiresome depending on what's going on, but I think part of that is really just adjusting to a new schedule. It's also been just pouring rain here and freezing cold and generally miserable, so I'm kind of also crediting my exhaustion to the weather. Thankfully, my 3 days off have been fairly beautiful. After this, I'm going to take Weston for a long walk. Hopefully he doesn't hear me say that trigger word. But yeah, beautiful days the last 3 days. I'm hoping that it keeps up this week, and then I can decide if it's really the schedule or if it's the schedule and such crappy rainy days. We'll see. Either way, I will get used to it. Frankly, 10 hours is not much more of a, it's not a big difference. I was working 8 hours a day before, and now I'm working 10. That's just 2 extra hours. I can power through either way. But yeah, I mean, a couple of big changes with us, but for the most part, day-to-day life is pretty typical. I don't have much else to speak on. Keep in mind that I will be opening up a thread for the year-long make-along tonight. Also keep in mind that if you want to take a shot at naming the cowl, you still have the chance to until March 9th when the pattern will be released. And also you can find my Galentine's Day socks on Ravelry now. With all that, I will leave you. I hope you guys have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I will see you Tuesday, March 9th for another episode of this podcast. Bye.